Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday morning kids worship devotion. I hope you guys have had a great week. I am excited to be with you this morning. A chilly morning here in Central Virginia. I'm not sure what it looks like where you're watching from. I would imagine that most of you who check this out, that's where you will be. But here in Central Virginia, we've had a wet, rainy night, which was true of most of 2020, but wet, rainy night here. It's here, so Saturday morning, it's a little chilly. It's a little damp outside, but kind of a cool morning too. If you think about it, it feels very spring-like in the sense that there's birds chirping, the sun's out. It feels like maybe we're getting on the other end of winter this morning, but that's not what we're here to talk about this morning. We're not here to talk about birds chirping and spring or winter or any of those things, although they're really cool. I wanted to come on this morning and talk a little bit about what we kind of talked about on Tuesday. When Miss Brandy and I were together for Tuesday morning, we talked about Mark chapter 2, and we talked about how there was so much stuff, so much that we could learn from Mark chapter 2. And if you remember, we said that passage really shows us how amazing and awesome Jesus is. We see a lot of cool stuff that Jesus does in Mark chapter 2. If you remember, we see Jesus teaching. We see Jesus healing. We see Jesus knowing the hearts of people. The Pharisees there who were upset that he had said that the man's sins were forgiven. He knew what their hearts were saying, what their minds were saying. Hey, good morning, Mom. Good morning, Susan. He knew all those things, and even in knowing that, he acknowledged them to the crowd, and then he told the man to get up, take his mat, and go home. And of course, the man did. Jesus performs this healing of this man. Really an amazing story. In fact, verse 12, it says that the onlookers were amazed or astonished. They had never seen anything like that before. So we talked about all of these things on Tuesday, but one of the things that we didn't talk about, and I wanted to talk about this morning, and I want to do something a little different, because usually we look forward for our Saturday morning devotion. What are we going to be talking about in kids worship this week? What is going to be kind of the highlight of kids worship? And we'll touch on that at some point, but I actually want to look backwards. Our bottom line from last Saturday, the week of January the 12th, was share with others. And last Saturday I had some glitchy stuff going on with devotion, but we talked about Matthew 28, which is to go into the world and make disciples. And so I was looking at Mark chapter 2 this week, and Miss Brandy and I shared about all the amazing things that Mark tells us that Jesus did in the story of this healing of the paralytic. One of the things we didn't talk about that really jumped out to me, also caught my attention, and I kind of saved it up for today, was not Jesus's friends, the man's friends. The man's friends, the paralyzed man. I want to look at their attitude for a minute. They so desperately wanted to get their friend to Jesus that they did whatever it took. I mean, think about this. Jesus is the hero of the story. But these friends are key players in the fact that this paralyzed man gets to meet Jesus. They show up. They carry this man on the mat. And there's such a large crowd, which is really amazing if you think about it. Here they are in Capernaum, this Jewish town, and here's Jesus teaching, and this large crowd gathers, and it fills the house, and it's filling the streets, and they're listening to people talk, and Jesus is teaching, and these men carry their friend. They want to get their friend to Jesus. They believe that Jesus has the power to heal their friend, and it's so crowded they can't get to him. So they don't just give up and go home. They don't just stop. No, they look for new ways to get there. And we kind of touched on that Tuesday. They thought outside the box. So what did they do? They climb the roof. They climb up the house, and they get up on the roof, and they tear apart this mud-packed, muddy, sticky, straw-filled roof, compacted hard like a brick roof, so that they can lower their friend down to Jesus. That's how important it was that they get their friend to Jesus. And it made me think, and the idea of sharing with others, not just sharing our things, but sharing Jesus with others. How often, boys and girls, moms and dads, are we that excited? Are we that encouraged? Are we that motivated to get our friends before Jesus? You see, if Jesus is the best gift we've ever gotten, then shouldn't we want to share him with others? If God is doing awesome things in our life, which we know he is, he's always doing awesome things in our life, shouldn't we be sharing that with others? But not just others, our friends. If we have a friend who doesn't know Jesus and we know they're desperately in trouble, do we believe that? Do we believe it's worth going out of our way to doing whatever we can to get them to Jesus? I'm not talking about being obnoxious. I'm not talking about throwing Bibles at people. I'm just talking about showing God's kindness, talking about telling truth to our friends. Are we willing to do like the friends in Mark chapter 2? They believed Jesus was awesome. They believed Jesus could do amazing things, and they were willing to do whatever it would take to share Jesus with their friend. I mean, worst case scenario, the guy leaves paralyzed still. But not only did the guy walk out on his own, he got carried in, he walked out. Jesus saw his faith, and he saw the faith of these friends, and he says, your sins are forgiven. What if we diligently, like really excitedly, would take our friends before Jesus? Isn't that what we're called to do? Aren't we called to be as faithful as the friends from Mark chapter 2? Don't we believe that Jesus is amazing enough that we should tell people about what he's done? I mean, if we really believe our Bibles, then the people who don't know Jesus, they're in big trouble. Hell is a real place, and so is heaven, both real places, and only the people who know the love and grace and rescuing power of Jesus' death and resurrection, his perfect life and his perfect forgiveness that's been given to us, know that, and everyone else is going to hell. How many of our family and friends don't know Jesus? And are we doing whatever we can to share him with them? To love them, to talk about him, to just let them know there is a God who created all the universe. And he sent his son to do amazing and awesome things to prove how much he loves us. The most important, going to the cross and coming back to life. You know, one of the last things that Jesus said was found in Acts chapter 1, verse 8. And in that verse, Jesus tells the disciples, and he's telling us, you will be my witnesses. What does a witness do? A witness gives evidence. If you go to court, and I've been on a jury before, you bring in witnesses, and the witnesses are going to give testimony. They're going to give evidence. They're going to tell stories. They're going to show what has happened. And Jesus tells the disciples, and he tells you and me, you will be my witnesses. Where? Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. And maybe we think, I don't live in Jerusalem, Judea, or Samaria. Well, I want you to think about it this way. Jerusalem's like your family, your hometown. So wherever you are, I'm in Colonial Heights, so maybe you're in Midlothian, maybe you're Richmond, maybe you're Ashland, maybe you're Charlottesville, maybe you're Cleveland, Ohio. That's your Jerusalem. And he says, you'll be my witnesses in your hometown and in your family. And then you'll be my witnesses in Judea. It's kind of like your state or your country. And you'll be my witnesses in Samaria, which would be like maybe the places you don't go, maybe even wider, in all the world. Boys and girls, you and I are called to share the gospel, to share Jesus Christ with other people, to tell about the awesome things that he's done and is doing in our life. And we're to share our things. Sharing goes both ways. We're to share our possessions. Acts chapter 2, it shows us that the people were caring for each other. When they had a need, they would fulfill that need amongst other people. So yes, we share our things, but the most important thing that you and I can share is the love of Jesus. And so I wonder, as we go into this weekend and we go into this week, what's our attitude going to be like? That of the friends in Mark chapter 2, willing to do whatever it takes, maybe being embarrassed, maybe being laughed at, maybe someone deciding they don't want to be our friend. Now, I'm not saying be obnoxious, but maybe somebody just decides they don't want Jesus. And boys and girls, that's the thing. Every person has to make that decision of what it means to know Jesus. You and I have to make that decision. Do I believe, do I trust in Jesus as my Savior and Lord? But God has called us. Jesus has told us to be his disciples, to make disciples, and to be his witnesses. Are we going to be his witnesses? Are you and I willing to be excited like the friends from Mark chapter 2 and take our friends, to take the people we love the most, to see how amazing Jesus is? I hope so. Remember, boys and girls, as we wrap up our devotion this morning, I want to remind you that this Sunday at our Midlothian and our Colonial Heights campuses, we are totally online this week. So you can catch our services, our grown-up services at 9:15 and at 10:45. That's our worship services. But we also have a virtual Tiny Town worship experience that you can find right here on Facebook or on our YouTube page. Our YouTube page is The Heights Kids. You just search that and you'll find it there. You can click to subscribe to that page, and you can even ring the bell and you'll get the notifications when new videos populate. So Tiny Town will be at 9:15 and our virtual kids worship will be at 9:30 this weekend. You can check that out, as this week we look at the idea of working hard. We're going to look at Proverbs chapter 6 and what that has to say about, what the Bible has to say about working hard, and how our hard work is a way that we honor God and show other people what God's doing in our life. And we also will see that God has designed us to work hard. So I hope you guys will check that out. Remember, we're online this week, and our plan is to be back in person next week. But if there's any changes to that, we will update our Children's Ministry Facebook page. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning as we looked at Mark chapter 2 again and Acts chapter 1. And again, I encourage you and remind you that if you are a follower of Christ, you are a witness to the things that Jesus has done. I hope you and I will be as excited about that as the friends in Mark chapter 2 were. You guys have a great Saturday and a great week. We look forward to seeing you online tomorrow. Until then, God bless you, and we'll see you soon.